everyone, hope you're doing so well, having an amazing week, and welcome to this little video all about linen canvas panels, which ones to buy, the best, the worst, my experiences. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new, and thank you so much for amazing comments on my last video. Usually at the end of my videos I will do like a funny question and answer, or like tell a story or a film review, but this week I might not, just because it's super late, and that's the only reason. But next week, hopefully I will start filming earlier. Famous last words. I'm going to talk about linen panels mainly for oil painting, just because that's my area of expertise, and it's not really expertise, it's just the area I work in. But some of these you can use for acrylic as well, so I will sort of point it out. So usually when you find acrylic linen panels, we're off to a great start. In canvas board and panel land, you have usually two options. You have your cotton panel, like so, a cotton panel that has been gessoed. So this is a universal primer, so you can use this for either oil or acrylic painting. And usually on the back you will have some sort of, you might be lucky and have one of these which says you can add in your like name, title and so forth. And this is a Fredrix one, which is a really great brand. But sometimes if you buy them super cheap, they might not have that at the back. They'll just have like a plain backing. And then you can paint happily on it and then frame it ideally, because ultimately with these types of boards, when they're sort of relatively cheap, so a few pounds, they're usually made with something called pulp board, which is something that can, if left in a sort of damp area or a super hot area, it can warp. And that is the one drawback of any type of panel, actually, is that there is a risk of that. So if you're ever worried about archival aspects of panels and things, all you have to do, secret, not really a secret, but all you have to do is frame them. So as long as you frame your paintings, and if you're selling them, that'll be absolutely fine. I have actually paintings that I have painted on panels, canvas boards rather, canvas panels, it's so confusing, that have lasted forever, and they look really great. And some of them haven't been framed, but most of them I have framed. But even the ones that haven't framed have been fine. I do think though, for larger sizes, if you paint really big, it's usually a bit better to go for like a hard board, like an MDF or something like that, because that tends to be a little bit more warp resistant. My only advice would be, if you're going to go for the canvas panel route, to get them from a art company, one that is has a really good reputation, like Fredrix, for example. Winsor & Newton do them, loads of other brands do them, and they're usually much better from those types of companies, rather than just buying them like in bulk from a random store. Like, you know, sometimes you can get those like random stores that sell multiple things and they don't have brands, or even off Amazon when they're super cheap. I would just say probably avoid them. It's better to get like a slightly better quality one. So yes, also in terms of canvas panels and boards, you can paint on hardboard, which is obviously a gesso board situation. Now some cotton panels do come with an MDF backing. This is a specific type of hardboard which Ampersand make, which is really great because it's all environmentally friendly and it's from a specific type of trees, and it's really amazing. It's FSC forests. Yes, FSC, certified sustainable forest products, which is really amazing. So this one is incredible. This is a really smooth surface. So if you don't want a medium grain, which is what canvas boards usually come in, then you would want to go for something much finer. So Ampersand do a bunch of amazing hardboards, but it's with gesso on them, usually multiple primed, but lots of brands do them actually. There's lots of different types you can get, and they're just a hardboard that's been gessoed, or you can make your own. You can buy your own hardboards and MDF boards, and you can prime them yourself. We go on to the linen. Now this is a more expensive option because linen is a more expensive fabric than cotton. Now cotton is the one that's most commonly used. My chair is really squeaky. Cotton is the one that's more commonly used, but linen is the stronger fabric out of the two, and therefore many people do consider it to be the more archival. I do think they're both incredibly archival. I mean, I've painted on both, and I do feel like they both, as long as you keep them in good conditions, will last a really long time. But of course, if you're somebody who's super concerned about things lasting like, you know, an eternity, even after our world explodes, then you might want to look into linen. Also, linen panels come in a variety of forms. So they come in usually a clear primed, so you'll have a kind of grey colour or a brownish colour, so it'll be the colour of the linen, and it's just sort of clear primed over the top with a clear gesso that you can already buy like this. Then you get the universal primed, which is just basically a gesso, so you can use acrylic on those as well. And then you get the oil primed, and those are specifically for oil paints, so you can't use acrylic paints on those. Now, they come in different finishes, and of course they come from different brands. Now, the first one I'm going to talk about is the cheapest. So I'm going to go from cheapest to the most expensive. One I think is probably the cheapest, if my calculations are correct. And this is from Amazon. But you can get it in a few other art stores, actually. I just realised afterwards, after I purchased it. But the good thing about the fact that it's from Amazon is you can get it on Prime, I'm pretty sure. And so if you're really in urgent need of panels, which, you know, who isn't, then it's nice to have it, you know, really quick. So these are by the brand Frisk, and they are clear primed. And what I really like about these, initially when I got them, is that the colour is, it's amazing, because if you're painting on a toned surface, it's so easy to see the sort of values and the contrast and everything. It's pretty much the ideal surface. And I believe they were about £5 each maybe, because there was a discount. So I think they were originally £19 for 3, 8 by 10. And I think there was a discount, so I think they were £15. Don't quote me though, because I'm not 100% sure, because I did buy them a while ago. So yeah, I think they're amazing value for a linen, you know, and they're really nice quality, and they are MDF inside, which is really great because they are so archival therefore. So they basically are brilliant, but my one drawback for these is that I found the surface a little bit rough. I like to paint in really fine detail, so for me, this is a painting I created a while back. For me, I just found that the surface was, I don't know if you can like hear that sound when I'm rubbing it, but it's a little bit as though they put not quite enough gesso for my personal style. But I read a lot of reviews on this, and everybody said they found the paint really glided on. So if you use very fluid mediums, perhaps it might work a bit better. But I would say that I really liked the way the painting came out. I just found that actually using them was, it was a little bit more difficult than using like a really fine linen. So I would say it's definitely medium grain, and you just have to be aware of that before you purchase. I think they're great for like plein air or painting alla prima or something, you know, really nice panels, and I did like the way the painting came out. Okay, so next up we have the really famous Pebeo brand. I am so hot at the moment. This weather is just horrendous. 1 minute it's like freezing, gale force winds, and then the next minute it's boiling. So I don't know what's going on. I don't even know who I am. So yeah, anyway, these are the famous Pebeo ones. So you can literally see these panels. We can literally find these panels in every art store somewhere at the back. Like where all the canvases are, they'll be there. I'm trying to get a good shot of this. See if I can go right up to the camera. I don't know if you can see, but it is there somewhere. Oh, there we go. I almost got it. There we go. There's the Pebeo name, and actually you can fill out your details here on the back. Some people hate that actually. I quite like it, but I know a lot of people hate it. So these are actually grey. So they're the exact same colour. These are grey. Just like this, only I think they are a little bit lighter than this, and they are really smooth to paint on. They have a much finer texture, I feel, than this. I feel like this is more like actual linen texture, like it's that actual proper linen texture, whereas this feels almost as though it's kind of like a machine material, but then they're both made from machines, aren't they, in machines, but I don't know, this feels a lot more kind of even in terms of the weave. But anyway, just a point. And what I really like about these is the paint goes on really, really smooth, and they're really easy to get because you can find them at any art store, and you can even find them on Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure. And they aren't that cheap though. I mean, if you want to get them on Prime, I think, yeah, they are in packs of 3, I think, but considering the size, quite small, they're more expensive, I think. On the whole, they're a few pounds more expensive than these ones, I think, anyway, if my calculations are correct. But you can probably find them on like some art you know, discount site for less. The only thing, there's two things that bother me about this one, and that is when I painted on this panel, I don't know if you can see, actually you can't because I've covered it all up, but initially I found that there were like these tiny little dots here when I painted. They were like whitish dots, almost like as if the gesso hadn't quite filled in every single part of the panel. And that can happen. I've had other more expensive linens where that has happened before. And all you have to do is basically just go over the painting again and make sure that your paint basically goes over every single area to cover that up. But it's just like these very tiny pinholes. And I think it's because when the machine like sprays a gesso on the linen, it just, because linen is such an uneven surface, it just doesn't quite disperse properly. That's my theory anyway. But yeah, so I really enjoyed painting on it. It was great fun. Really liked the look of it. And the second thing that I just wanted to make a point of, it's not that I don't like it, it's just a point. You do have to frame these, I think, because they're so thin, which is great because they'll fit into like the, you know, the smallest, tiniest frames. But yeah, they're so thin that I think I personally would worry about it warping, even though it'll probably be okay. But I think if you're going to sell them, I think frame. So yeah, I still need to find a frame for this, but I've really enjoyed painting on the Pebeo one. So we have Centurion. This is a really famous brand. This is from the US, and I'm going to take my gloves off because I don't even know why I'm wearing them. Like all my paintings are dry. Actually, no, there was one painting I wanted to show you, but it's behind me. So like right behind my head. So yeah, so thirdly, we have the Centurion panel, which is MDF inside, so super archival. This is universally primed. They do an oil primed as well, but this I got from Amazon. So basically you have to get this from Amazon if you're in the UK, because they don't have this in the UK anywhere. This comes from the US, they ship it. And I think, I was going to say it's from Jerry's, but I actually don't know. But I just assumed it was. But I don't know, so I don't want to, you know, don't quote me on that. Really popular in America, if I could talk. The slightly annoying thing though is that they are way more expensive, because any product that you want to get from the US is sort of imported to here. They always have a markup. It's understandable, I know. I wish there were more products that people rave about in the US that were available here. Art products, we are you know, a little bit unlucky in that regard, because I feel like in the US have a much bigger range. But anyway, that's enough of that. Nothing I can do about it. I just realised I really like the back. It's a really nice purple colour, but it's so funny because when I looked at reviews, it was really funny because loads of people said they hated the back and they hated the purple colour and they hated the big label, but I really like it. I think it looks really, like, it looks nice. I don't know, there's like such a descriptive commentary. It looked nice. This panel is really smooth. It's a very unusual texture. It totally threw me off. I was expecting it to be, so it said medium grain, and I was expecting it to be more like a pronounced grain. I felt medium grain and smooth at the same time, which was really unusual. It was very strange, and I actually think it took a little bit of getting used to, but it is a really nice surface. And actually, I think it works best for painting in one layer. So if you're a plein air painter, you should definitely consider getting these. They're really lightweight, even though there's MDF inside, like they're really portable, and I just think they're really, really nice. I really like them, and I really felt like they put a proper amount of gesso on them. So basically I like them a lot. My one complaint is the price, because I feel like they are expensive, and in the US I believe they're like £4 for this size, which is amazing value. Maybe £5. No, I think it's probably £4. Whereas I think I paid around 8, which is, you know, it was actually more than that. Okay, so now we're on to more expensive territory. Now I wanted to talk about oil primed linen, because there is a thing about oil primers. Oil primers are more expensive than gesso, and they do make the oil paint sit on top of the surface a lot better. So if the panel has a lot of gesso, it can sometimes be very absorbent, and it just means that your colours will go a little bit dull, and you probably will end up having to paint more layers sort of on top of each other to make the colours bright and show up. So a lot of artists prefer the oil primed. Now, Jacksons do a bunch of oil primed linen. They also do a bunch of universal primed. So now we're heading into more expensive territory. Here I'm going to talk about the Claessens. They're the Belgian linen, and a lot of people really like them. They're definitely a more textured linen, I find. They've got so many different types. It's quite confusing actually, because it's not confusing on their website, but I feel like in Jackson's, because they have so many products, I found that it can be quite confusing as to which actual number it is that I'm ordering, and I used to get really confused. Now I think I sort of roughly know. But yeah, so I don't actually even really fully know what number linen this is that I'm going to show you. This is definitely a Claessens linen. I don't even know if that's the way you pronounce it, by the way. Claessens? I don't know. I've heard other people say it that way, so I'm just repeating it. So yeah, so this is a medium grain, but there's no actual number of like what number linen it is on the back, which is really a shame because I'd really like to know. Anyway, this is a properly textured surface, but with the Claessens, because they use an oil primer, you get that slightly smooth, easy flow of paint on the surface. So it's quite hard to describe, but it's a really nice feeling when you're painting, and you get a really nice glow from the paint on oil primers. So I really like this panel. I believe this is the same price as the one I'm going to show you. And this can be a bit confusing, by the way, because it says at the back Jackson's board, like handmade linen board, but the linen itself is a Claessens linen, but the board is assembled and put together by Jackson's, the art store. So that can be a bit confusing, but there you go. I know they have Jackson's worldwide. It's a great, huge art store. So if you're interested in buying any kind of linen panels, I would check out Jackson's as well as like some of the other art stores, because they do make some of them in-house, so which is, you know, really nice. So yeah, it's a really good linen. It is a pronounced grain though, and so I have to be in the right mood to paint on this type of a grain. I feel like because I do a lot of fine detail, sometimes I don't feel like doing all the fine detail. I just want to like create a painting in 1 or 2 sittings, and in which case I use this type of linen. It's such a high quality, it feels very luxurious. Just as a thing, this has a distinctive smell, and I actually heard somewhere that some people like love the smell, that just adore it. I think I've read one review that one person said they hated it, so just bear it in mind, like if you're really sensitive to smells. But it has like a really nice smell. I actually really like it, and I'm quite sensitive to stuff like that, but it kind of smells really antique, like, you know, if you go into like an antique shop and it smells of like antique wood. That's literally what it smells like. It's really unusual, and I really like it. I think it's the oil primer. Next we're going on to my favourite of all the linen panels, which is the one also made by Jackson's, and it is the Belle Arti, which is the Italian linen. And this is the oil primed extra fine. So this is not the medium grain. This is the only one that I featured that has an extra fine grain. And I really, really like it because I can get fine detail on it. It's an oil prime, so the colour looks really, really bright and luminous. I mean, check it out. It's like proper glowing. And yeah, I just think it's a wonderful surface to work on. The paint just glides on, and great Italian brand. I really like their brand. They do all kinds of different products. Like they have their gesso boards as well. So finally, we have the most expensive linen panel that I have, which is the so the latter, these run about I think £4 for this size, which is a 5x7. So they're not cheap. I mean, if you get, and the price does jump up, I feel, when you go to the bigger panel sizes. So it's nowhere near going to be as cheap as buying a canvas panel, like those cheaper ones. It's not going to be the same price. But, you know, it could be a thing where if you feel like you really want to paint on linen, at times you buy a few. I tend to use them on and off. My main choice is usually a gessoed hardboard. That's what I prefer, just because that I can get really fine detail. And I usually prime myself, or I get the Ampersand ones. So yeah, so that worked out for me. But I do really like this linen as well, and I do have paintings that I've created on this linen that I have sold and that I sell in my shop. And so finally, we have the most expensive, which is the Masters Archival Surfaces, and this is another Claessens linen. I think this is number 15. No, it's number 13, and it's double primed. So confusing. They all have different numbers, and yeah, I think one day I'm going to just get a book of their linens, their samples, because they do samples, and then just try out every single one just for fun. So yeah, this is on the back, Masters. It's very fancy, and this is, oh, I broke my hand. This is aluminium, so this is dye bond, I think people call it. So this is properly archival. I mean, this is like a proper metal surface. So the linen is glued onto this surface, and then it's ready to paint on. So this is a bunny I created a while ago, and it is heavier. I do like these ones, but I feel like, just a personal thing, that MDF and hardboard like these are just as archival. Like, I feel somehow the metal thing, it just doesn't really appeal to me. It just doesn't do it for me. I don't know, there's something so nice about having a panel that is really, really, like, I don't know, just lightweight, that you can just put it on the thing and then put it on the thing, on the easel. And I really like the kind of earthy feel of hardboards and wood, painting on wood as well, and just like even just linen, like canvases. So for me, I just don't really enjoy this kind of clunky thing, even though I know that this is very lightweight for this type of metal, backing. But they are very luxurious. They do feel really fancy, and I understand why they make them. This costs, prepare to fall off your seat, £15 for this thing, this size, which is a 5x7, which is tiny. So if you really want to go like you want to be so archival that even when the whole world explodes, your painting will be floating there in space. there's no one left, there's nothing left on Earth but this floating around. So, if that's what you want floating around in space, you go for it. It's just, I can't be bothered. And just quickly before I go, I want to show you a painting I'm working on that has no relevance to any of what I just spoke about. Here is a cat. Oh, can you see it? Oh, yes, you can. This is a cat in a forest that's going to gain. It's going to gain some kind of castle, and there's going to be a house here. I think I like the idea of a house. So yeah, I hope you like it. I hope you like the mystery. And this cat is just chilling at the moment. So I do hope you all enjoyed this video. It will be much more thrilling next week, I assure you. I hope this is not an empty promise. Take care. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.